I'm practicing silence. How'd I do, Jeff?
You fail.
Did I fail? I've always failed at silence. I was in the back of the room a lot. But my story this week is about another non-silent Roland. Roland was at a wedding. His middle son, Allan, got married. And it was phenomenal. He married a Brit from England. He imported her. It's like, she came over and she says, "Oh, so this is the colonies." I said, "Well, you can tell my British is, I need to work on it. So I'll have to go visit them." Because her mother and her sister and her son came. She has a 20-year-old son. However, the setting for this wonderful romance is just the coolest. Terry and I got dressed in what Allan and Abby, that's my new daughter-in-law's name, considered their wedding garments. I got dressed in 70s and 80s punk rock outfit. Now, I'm 70. But Terry got me all set up. I put on this t-shirt and it had Avengers on it with all kinds of skeletons and arrows and red and black. Man. And I had this sleeveless t-shirt and I'm sort of known around the house as the great ape. Because I have a bit of body hair. So there I was, and then she put on a tattoo. And I've never had tattoos. Sort of a personal preference. But I got a big ship on my chest. Thank golly, she put it in a place I didn't have a lot of hair. I think she would have enjoyed pulling the tape off, though. No, I don't know. Anyway, there I was. So then the next thing she put me on, she put these crosses on. Now you can see all this stuff if you get onto the newsletters. But there I was with that, and then they put a sleeve. They pulled a sleeve thing over me, and it was a tattoo sleeve. I never heard of a tattoo sleeve. And then they put a bracelet, and it had all this, like, bullets in it. So, I just fell back. I was laughing. Did I have to tell that I was laughing?
You can tell.
Can I tell? Okay. And Terry, my sweetie pie, who is similar in age to me, but I can't say her age, dressed up, and she had this hairdo. She went and got this hairdo where she had this red stuff, and she had it put into a peak. And it looked like she was ready for a bullfight. It was sticking up, and it was... And then she put on all this black stuff and put on all this black makeup. I didn't know her. But that was our dress for a wedding. So we took off for San Francisco. And we stopped up on the hills and we overlooked the bay. And we saw the Bay Bridge and Alcatraz. And some lady drove by and looked at me and said, "Hey, punk! You know where the Hoyt Tower is?" I says, "Just keep looking, you'll find it." "Ah, it's important. Tell me." It's like, well, I never have been addressed that way before. So I found out you're not quite admired when you're in these outfits. Well, we went on, and then we saw it. It was on Green Street, right by Embarcadero. And it was the Tattoo Boogaloo. Well, we found a parking spot just a measly 2 blocks away, and we walked over there. And I had my rattlesnake boots on because they're cool. They look good with all that hard rock stuff, except they're a little small. And walking up those hills was a little hard. But I made it. And there, at the Tattoo Boogaloo, I met Mez, and Mez was the owner. And I had an old man story encounter with her. And it was the greatest. I videotaped it, and we got it for history. And then both my sons came, Mark and James, and they were dressed in appropriate gear. And then, after waiting there a few minutes for my normally late son Allan and his new lady Abby, they came in, and with them I looked and I says, oh, some strangers. And all of a sudden it was Allan and Abby and her gang from England, and they were all dressed in 80s rock. They had funny looking orange hair and red hair and purple hair and black makeup. Man, this was a new world for Roland. So, we proceeded to take videos and meet each other because we never met our in-laws before. And they're from southern England. Nice people. Couldn't understand much what they said. But then again, they looked at us and scratched their heads when we talked. But we communicated. And they were wonderful people. Just wonderful. And the wedding was conducted where Abby sat on one chair getting a tattoo on her wrist. Allan sat in another chair getting a tattoo on his wrist. And Monday, they had went down to City Hall and got Mark, our youngest son, licensed to conduct the wedding. So they had a rock wedding, and Mark stood in the center, and those two stood, and you could hear the old thing go bzzz, both of them as they were getting these tattoos put on their wrists. Man, that's love. Because that hurt. I watched them just squishing their faces and listening to Mark give their vows that they had written in sort of offbeat English. Man, this was a different world. A different world. So, I sat behind the camera, my mouth all the way open, and I didn't touch the camera. I hope it took pictures. It did. It took wonderful pictures. And listened to them go through the ceremony and watch the faces of these youngsters. I think they're both in their 30s, babies. Get these tattoos put on. And then I will listen to the, yeah, yes, I do. I don't know if it was that painfully sounded, but I heard it that way.
What were the tattoos of?
The tattoos were bracelets with their names on. Thank you for the question, Jeff. The tattoos were sort of like a watch backwards, and inside was each one of their names. It was a really nice tattoo, if you like tattoos. And like I told Mez, who's the owner, I said, I'd like to get a tattoo if I could change it every couple of years when my when something changes in my life. Oh, this flower's in my life now, I want to change it. And she says, well, you can get this laser stuff. She says, it's only painful and expensive. And I looked and I says, oh, I'll just leave it off. I can do these temporary ones. But someday they'll have tattoos where you can go in, get them on, and a year and a half later, 2 years, you say, I'm bored being a Buddhist monk with all these Buddhist things all over me. I decide I'm going to be a Hindu and put Hindu gods on me this year. So, this is what we did. And when we finished, we went across and we went to the Stinking Onion.
Stinking Rose, actually.
Stinking Rose. Oh, you know the restaurant.
I do.
The Stinking Rose restaurant. And we had a whole bunch of garlic. And all night long, the universe told me that I had garlic at my son's wonderful, wonderful wedding.